Hey everybody, it's Cliff, and this is Life with MS. And today I'm talking about my fourth day on Mavenclad, which means my third night going into my fourth day. And I just touched the microphone, sorry about that. And here's the box. The ones that I've taken, I turn upside down, and I have two left. And today is a 10 milligram dose, and then tomorrow is a 10 milligram dose. And then I'm done for a month, and then I do it all over again, and then I'm done for a year. And then I do it all over again, and then maybe I never have to do it again. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I wanted to talk about my side effects for the third day, which would be the third night, going into the fourth. And also, a couple of comments came up on the channel I want to talk to you guys about. And I have some news related to some of the other issues we were talking about in the first and second episode. So we're going to get all to that. There's a lot going on, a lot to unpack here. I'm going to link the other episodes from starting on my first day below in the description. And then you can check those out if you haven't. Now, if you are here for the first time, basically I failed on Ocrevus and I failed on Kesimpta. The side effects were just too much. However, they actually worked in stopping the progression of my MS, though the symptoms were pretty and still are pretty gnarly. But the side effects from those two drugs were just too much for me to handle. It was just absolutely miserable. So now I'm trying Mavenclad, which is a DMD, disease-modifying drug, not a disease-modifying therapy for my multiple sclerosis. And it has been an interesting ride indeed. So let's catch everybody up on what happened on the third day evening after I took the drug at 1:30 in the afternoon. Well, what I've been experiencing over the last couple of days with Mavenclad is basically I would take the drug at 1:30, and then by about 4 I would start feeling very lethargic and kind of crappy, and that would last until about 6 to 9. Sorry, that would last about 6 hours till about 9 p.m. ish. And then I would have trouble sleeping, and then I would eventually fall asleep, and the next morning I felt okay again. Well, what happened yesterday is I took the stuff, and it was a 20 milligrams. It was 2 pills, and that was at 1:30. And then right around 4, it didn't feel great. I didn't look great. I was very pale, to be expected with this stuff. But I never hit that level of fatigue that I had the previous 2 days. I still laid down for a little while, but I didn't really have to. And then I went to bed at like 9 p.m. and I was asleep by probably 9:30 p.m. and I slept really well. Now, if you watched yesterday's episode, you would know there were some really weird lucid dreams. And I had those again. So let's go over the lucid dream sequences that I had, which I'm bringing to you through the great tools of AI, because I've never been able to describe my dreams to people accurately, but now I can show you, which is really cool. So let me just review these real quick. Number one, now I'm a big hair metal band fan. I love 80s rock music. It's often in my dreams, and this time it came in the form of singing ice cream cones on a Broadway stage. Let's take a look at that. Eat us. Okay, so that happened, and there was some kind of a ballad going on in the background. It's just really freaking weird. And there were lots of lights flashing and stuff. I don't know. Creative brain mixed with really powerful MS drugs. Who knows what's going on? Now we're going to move on to the second one, because this one was really weird too. And this is the one where, and I swear people have this. My wife tells me about it. This was a little bit more exaggerated than I usually have it. But like, if I think I might have to go to the bathroom, my body maybe triggers something in my dream sequence, but it's always one of anxiety. So like the toilet is always in a spot that is super exposed to everybody watching it. So this is what it looked like last night.
He is expected to show at any minute and relieve himself.
Yes, that is a news helicopter circling a toilet on a pedestal surrounded by thousands of people. Awkward? Do you get that? I mean, is that just me, or I don't know, weird, right? And then the third one, and this one is a reoccurring dream that happens all the time. And it's that one where I'm back in high school, which was a long time ago. And I'm looking to go to my next class, but I don't know what my next class is. And I have the schedule in my hand and I can't seem to read it or find the class. And everybody around me knows me, but like I totally don't fit in. Let's view that.
Dude, aren't you a little old for school?
All right, so there you go. Totally weird. And so that was my Mavenclad weird dreams. Now, they could have been just weird dreams I would have had regardless, but I have noticed over the last few days that they've been more prevalent in terms of weirdness, though they always have a common element of familiarity. So, I don't know, kind of fun, kind of weird. And a few of you have commented that you have experienced similar things. So, thank you very much for that. So strange, so strange. Okay, so now let's talk about the side effects overall. Now, yesterday was not bad. This morning is not bad at all. I would say I just feel normally MS-y, like I'm just a little bit fatigued, kind of feeling like the body's jittery, but nothing like I would have felt with my Kesimpta or the Ocrevus 4 days after. With those, I would be still recovering from massive, massive fatigue. So because I'm not feeling super crappy, I've been taking the dogs on walks, which I love to do, and they love to go. And here's the great thing about these two monkeys. No matter how crappy I'm feeling, they make me get out and walk. And I always feel better at the end of the walk, even if I'm super, super tired. We have a good time getting our walk in. And I just don't think I would walk as much if I didn't have them around. They will bug me and bug me and bug me until I take them out. And they seem to know on certain days when I'm not feeling well, I think they know that I need to get outside. They're really good about that. And those two girls are great. They make sure I do not lay around too long and they keep me moving. Hence the Border Collie shirt, which I'm kind of obsessed with our dogs. I mean, who isn't, right? Dogs are just awesome all the way around. So I want to address one of the comments that came up on yesterday's video, and I thought it was really good. And it was one of the viewers talking about maybe I should follow my own advice and back off the really nasty drugs and just do this thing naturally. And that possibly, and this was an interesting part of it too, that Big Pharma is not pushing things like Mavenclad because it won't be as profitable as the other things. I thought that was, both those things were really interesting. Now let's unpack the first part of that. I wish I hadn't discovered all the information that I have discovered in that 10 months that I wasn't on a drug. You know, I really wanted to like dig into it. I had a heavy bias towards finding information that said I didn't have to go on another drug. But the analytical side of my brain and the engineering side of my brain just kept collecting the evidence and saying, I can't ignore this. Like the people that I know that have gone off the drugs personally have progressed, and it didn't take long for them to progress. That was very concerning for me. Secondly, I read the studies, and there were a handful of ones that said, you know, people at a certain age didn't really seem to progress too much, even though they did have a little bit of progression. It wasn't disability progression, disability type of progression, but it was progression nonetheless. And it was progression beyond those that were continuing on the DMTs and the DMDs. But the overall evidence that I found said that people that continue the DMTs and the DMDs at my age continued to benefit from them. And when I met with my doctor recently, as of 3 weeks ago, he said, I'm just not comfortable taking you off anything and letting you go. He said basically, and I've covered this before, if I have another relapse, I'm in big trouble. And so I took that to heart. So no, I don't want to be on these things. I think there's going to be long-term effects of them, but will they be worse than not being on them? Just based on what I've learned about my own multiple sclerosis over the last 15 years, that if I let it do its own thing unregulated, it's going to be catastrophic. And that is definitely what I have been experiencing. And so the decision to continue these drugs that could cause really nasty side effects in the long term, you know, cancer, blah, 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 blah. I just continue to tell myself, you know, cancer is a Boolean thing. You have it and then you don't, or you have it and then you die from it. But basically, like, it's not like MS where there's no cure for it. Right? Like if you catch it early enough, I think a lot of cancers could be taken care of. I don't know. That's just how I see it. And so if that is the result of taking these, but it stops my MS, then, maybe at some point I've got to address that. But I have to address my MS right now. And I wish I could do it by just eating well, exercising well, and regulating my stress. But the reality is that I don't really have a lot of control over what my MS does. But the one part I do is to be able to be proactive about dumping these really toxic substances in my body and shutting down the MS where it stands right now and getting no further progressed. So thank you for that comment. That's just what I wanted to say about that. And I've said that before many times, but I agree with you. Like, I wish I could do this naturally, but I just don't think it's right for me. I'm not saying it's not right for everybody. I'm just not right for me. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical expert. I'm just a dude on YouTube, bald dude, with MS, trying to find a way that makes sense for my community, for my family, and for myself. And it seems like, Mavenclad seems to be that fit right now. But we're early in the game. Maybe it's not going to work. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I have to try. I have to go to bed at night thinking I've done my best to make sure that this disease doesn't go any further and affect other people other than myself. I don't want my son having to push me around in a wheelchair when he's 18. He's got a life to live. I don't want my wife having to deal with this beyond what we already deal with. And I don't want my community to basically have to suffer through my issues because I didn't want to make a choice that was at the time I felt right, even though I was scared. So I think everybody's scared. I'm terrified of the results of this stuff, but I'm more terrified of not doing something about it. So, that's my soapbox on that. And I realize everybody has a different perspective. They've got different life circumstances. And so, you have to take that into account. But thank you for the wonderful comments and those comments like that. I really love it when people say stuff that maybe don't agree with the way I'm doing things because it's a different perspective. And I also love it when you guys give me kudos for things because then I feel like I'm validating what I am doing. So I love it both ways, basically. And I really love exploring different ideas. So much appreciated. Okay, so let's back up a little bit more. On the first and second day, I believe I mentioned I wasn't sure why Mavenclad isn't more prescribed over things like Ocrevus and Kesimpta and Gilenya and the whole gamut of drugs. And I suspected because it was an insurance requirement to fail two DMTs before going on a DMD. Well, I was actually wrong about that. I spoke with my neurologist recently, actually a day ago, and I said, what's going on with Mavenclad? Why wasn't I prescribed this from the get-go? And he basically said, if you had come to me first, you probably would have been prescribed this given the level of intensity of your MS. But it's relatively, while it's an older drug, it's 19 years old. For MS, it's like within the last 5 years, it's really starting to gain traction. And then so, I took that to note. And then I reached out to Dr. Boster. If you don't know Dr. Boster, he's a fantastic MS neurologist, highly respected by the MS community. I will link his stuff below. And I talk to him about YouTube and stuff like that all the time. And I asked him, I said, what's going on with Mavenclad? Are we seeing an uptick in its use in the MS community as of late? And he said, yes, definitely. So there is something there going on. Now, I don't have any evidence-based papers talking about, the trends and all that stuff, but just two people that I know are very deep in this space. My particular neurologist has 1,100 patients in his care, and he's been doing it for 25 or 30 years. So he's seen the level of progression in drugs and in the disease, and he knows what's best for any particular one type of case, like myself. And I really feel like because Dr. Aaron Boster is so deep in the space himself, he really preaches continue a DMT, regardless of how you're feeling or your age. And I think maybe Mavenclad is going to be one of those things. Now, he didn't say specifically whether he's prescribing it or not, but he did say there is a definite uptick in the use of it. So, I got to believe there's something there. And, like I said, we're early in the game. I'm 4 days in and I'm not feeling bad at all. Is this stuff working? Who knows? I have to get a blood test in 2 months to see if it's actually depleting my immune system or not. But We just don't know yet. And that's the same for the other drugs as well. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. So far, so good. Tomorrow is going to be the last dose, Friday, TGIF, and we'll see how it goes. I feel better. I do feel better from the first day. The first couple of days were a little rough, not terrible. Today, I feel, dare I say it, it's early in the day. It's only 10 a.m. I feel kind of normal, and that's weird, very weird, given the strength of the stuff that I'm on and what it has to do. And on that note, I won't waste any more of your time. Thank you so much for being with me on this journey. I'll update you tomorrow on how things are going, and then we're going to do a week in review and basically hope for the best. I hope you all have a wonderful Thursday. I appreciate each and every one of you, all your comments, all your likes, all your subscriptions. This means a ton to me and my family. I feel like this community is really serving each other well, and I'm proud of us. Pat on the back. I'm Cliff. This is Life with MS, and I'll talk to you soon.